Take a moment to evaluate the opinions you hold most closely. How many of those judgments did you build yourself, and how many were handed to you by someone else? We naturally assume our worldview is a direct result of our own observations. In reality, external narratives often act as the foundation for our judgments before we have even encountered a situation ourselves. When we rely on borrowed data, our final conclusions are detached from the truth before the process even begins. I experienced this recently while sitting in my office. As a professional, I've always made an effort to be an active, empathetic listener. It's a quality I consider central to how I work. But during a conversation with a candidate, he stopped and said, "Someone told me that you don't listen to anyone." I was shocked. My immediate instinct was to defend myself, to list all the reasons why that assessment was wrong. Then I realized the candidate wasn't trying to be difficult. He had simply arrived with a mental model of me that was already finished. We often navigate our lives assuming we see others clearly, when we are actually looking through the prescription lenses of someone else's bias. The candidate's reaction was a logical response to the information he had. He wasn't acting on malice, he was acting on flawed data. This happens because the brain looks for ways to save energy. It's easier to adopt a pre-packaged judgment than it is to perform the mental labor of an independent evaluation. We can see this in the life cycle of an opinion. This chart shows the input phase, where a one-sided story enters a vacuum with no first-hand knowledge. In the filter phase, the brain accepts this unverified input, reshaping the filter used to anticipate the interaction. By the judgment phase, behavior is driven by internal distortion. The resulting conclusion misses the objective target entirely. This shortcut transforms hearsay into a functional reality, stopping us from observing what is actually happening in front of us. Operating through a borrowed lens actively suppresses our observational skills. We begin to scan for evidence that confirms the rumor, while the data that contradicts the prejudice becomes invisible to us. The cost of this reliance is the loss of nuance. We trade the complexity of the real world for a simplified, second-hand version of it. Breaking this cycle requires us to intentionally resist the brain's preference for ease. Do not build your perspective on the foundation of what others tell you. Instead, take the time to pause and to observe. Use your own eyes to synthesize the data. This requires more effort than believing a rumor, but it provides a map of reality that you actually drew yourself. When you do the work to look for yourself, you often find that the truth bears little resemblance to the narrative you were given. Intellectual autonomy begins when you stop letting other people's stories dictate your reality. Clearing away all the noise of external opinions allows you to finally see the terrain as it actually is. By reclaiming your own perspective, you move from reacting to rumors to experiencing your own life.